On October 19, 1781, Lord Charles Cornwallis managed to defeat Yorktown, effectively ending the Revolutionary War. Hi, I'm Carson Cross.
I'm Mandy.
I'm Desmond.
And I'm Kevin B. And we are the Yorktown Academy of Junior Historians. In this video, we will document Cornwallis' march through Wilson, Nash, and Halifax counties in May of 1781, as documented by North Carolina highway historical markers. Along the way, we will be highlighting skirmishes at Peacock's Bridge, Swift Creek, and Fishing Creek, the British encampment at Crow's Plantation, and Cornwallis' occupation of the town of
The
Halifax.
actions of American militia was very effective in disrupting the British military in their loyalist hours, successfully hampering Cornwallis' advance and denying him much-needed supplies. Cornwallis' eventual defeat at Yorktown caused the USA to form into what it is known as today. Cornwallis was born on New Year's Eve, 1738, to Charles Cornwallis, 5th Baron Cornwallis, and Elizabeth Townshend. After graduating from Eton College, Cornwallis began his military career during the 7 Years' War, mostly serving in Germany. After the war ended, he went home to focus on family and his political career, where he often supported constitutional rights for Americans. Cornwallis re-enlisted in the army in 1776 and served under General Henry Clinton in America. The relationship became tense after Cornwallis' defeat by George Washington at the Battle of Princeton. Clinton blamed Cornwallis for the defeat, and the relationship was never the same. After losing more battles, Cornwallis went home to care for his sick wife, who eventually died. Cornwallis returned to America and took control of the British forces in the South, where he undertook the British Southern Strategy.
The British Southern Strategy was a plan implemented to crush the Revolution by concentrating their forces in the southern colonies of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Although the British proposed plans for a southern campaign as early as 1775, it was not put into full effect until France became America's ally, following the win at the Battle of Saratoga in October of 1777. This new strategy for the British depended on the assumption that many Southerners remained loyal to the British and would join up with them as they fought. However, American loyal support never matched expectations.
Having fully conquered South Carolina with his victory at the Battle of Camden, Cornwallis can now move on to North Carolina. He pursued General Nathaniel Greene across the Piedmont, finally meeting him at Guilford Courthouse on March 15, 1781. Though Cornwallis found himself outmanned by Greene, 1,900 to 4,400, the result was a tactical victory for the British, though they suffered a greater proportional loss of troops. British statesman Charles James Fox said of this battle, "Another such victory would ruin the British Army." Following Guilford Courthouse, Cornwallis aimed his army south towards Cross Creek, now Fayetteville, and Wilmington. The North Carolina campaign had been a failure. Greene's army had not been defeated and was now moving to recapture South Carolina. The British, on the other hand, had lost almost half their field forces. Their soldiers did not have shoes, and their uniforms were in rags. At Cross Creek, they hoped the sizable Loyalist population would potentially reinforce their dwindling numbers. However, they were in such a tattered state by the time they arrived that few Loyalists wanted to join with them.
While in Wilmington, Cornwallis decided instead to focus on invading Virginia, thinking that was the key to victory. He determined that he would have enough men if he combined his army with Major General William Phillips's, a decision that went directly against General Clinton's orders. On April 25, 1781, Cornwallis wrote to Clinton of his plans. This was not a decision made lightly, as even Cornwallis himself said, "The situation in which I leave the South adds much to my anxiety, yet I am under the necessity of adopting this hazardous enterprise hastily." His concern was that if he remained in Wilmington much longer, it would mean certain defeat then and there. And yet on April 25, 1781, without Phillips' response, Cornwallis departed for North Virginia. He dispatched Lieutenant Colonel Manasseh Tarleton and his cavalry to clear the way. Cornwallis met Tarleton about 50 miles above Wilmington and crossed the Cape Fear River without conflict. Tarleton had already proved to be an integral part of Cornwallis' army during the Southern campaign and would continue to be as they marched across Wilton, Nash, and Halifax County. At the site of Peacock's Bridge on Highway 58 near Stannisburg in Wilton County. Having not experienced much in the way of resistance, on May 6, 1781, Tarleton's cavalry met about 400 militiamen under the command of Colonel James Gorham at Peacock's Bridge. Samuel Peacock had built the bridge in 1751 to cut away passage across the Contendia Creek. Tarleton's forces dispersed the militia, but not without taking some losses.
It is important to note that each of these skirmishes were either taken at bridges or creeks. This was a strategic choice on behalf of the militias so they could try to slow down Cornwallis and more specifically Tarleton as they advanced north across eastern North Carolina.
The main column of Cornwallis' army reached their encampment at Cornwallis Plantation. Their path had been cleared previously by Tarleton and his cavalry. While they were at Cornwallis Plantation, it was a good time for the army to recuperate. They were running low on supplies including food, clothing, and other things. And they were also running very low on troops. They hoped to get supplies from the countryside as they traveled, but none were available. Cornwallis Plantation is home to Rocky Mount Wilson.
The day before Cornwallis arrived at Cornwallis Plantation on May 7th, Tarleton had already advanced several miles. His cavalry clashed with militia at Spring Bridge, marching on Highway 48 in northern Nash County, and again a few miles later at Fishing Creek Bridge. Each time the colonial militia commanded by Captain Harry Hill was dispersed.
Destination of Cornwallis' march before crossing into Virginia was the town of Halifax, recognized here on Highway 301. Halifax was an important political career for the then colony of North Carolina. It was well recognized for having been the site of the signing of the Halifax Resolves, the first official action for independence in any of the colonies, adopted on April 12, 1776.
Surf Creek and Fishing Creek. Tarleton's forces reached Halifax first and circled the town. Attacking from the north, they clashed with the Halifax militia, which was setting off again on the bridge. The militia soon retreated off the bridge and occupied a redoubt on the other side of the Roanoke River, not too far.
The main army of Cornwallis reached Halifax several days later. The British occupation was very chaotic and homes were looted of valuables. The situation was so much out of control that Cornwallis court-martialed and executed a sergeant and a dragoon for outrages against the town and citizens of Halifax.
On May 11th, Cornwallis crossed into Virginia. However, his plan to unite with General Phillips had begun to unravel. Phillips died of typhoid fever in Petersburg, Virginia, following the Battle of Blandford on May 13, 1781, before Cornwallis could reach him. Likewise, after a minor undecided battle between a British fleet and a French fleet, the British reinforcements retreated to New York, leaving Cornwallis isolated as he settled on the Yorktown Peninsula.
Beginning in September of 1781, Cornwallis and his men, now cut off from their supplies entirely, were under siege from a combined American and French force. The British finally surrendered on October 19th, effectively ending the American Revolution.
Even though he surrendered at Yorktown, Cornwallis was still seen as an established and esteemed leader to most of the British public, though there are plenty who openly criticized his actions. In February of 1786, George III appointed Cornwallis to the commander-in-chief position in India and was given the title First Marquis Cornwallis. He would serve as governor of India until his death in 1805 at age 67.
Skirmishes at Peacock's Bridge, Swift Creek, Fishy Creek, and Halifax were not as tactically important as, say, Guilford Courthouse or Yorktown. They were nevertheless significant. The actions of the American militia were effective in disrupting the advance of the British military and their loyalist allies, and denied Cornwallis much-needed supplies. They mark a crucial moment on the road to Cornwallis' eventual defeat at Yorktown and effective end of the American Revolution.